Oaks and Rachel Carson Middle School students. Welcome to another episode of Read with Force. I'm here with my friend, Mrs. Paramoom. Hello, Mrs. Paramoom.
Good morning, Mrs. Zomerman.
And we have with us today our friend and co-worker and personal trainer. You'll hear about that later, Mrs. Dizon. Hi, Mrs. Dizon.
Good morning. I have been teaching at Five Oaks. This is my 21st year. Hard to believe because I look like I'm 20. But you know how it goes.
I know. We're all 17.
Right. And then prior to that, I had taught in an elementary school at a private school. So I had about 6 years of teaching experience before I came into Five Oaks. So I've taught elementary. When I started at Five Oaks 20 years ago, I taught all the subjects. And then I went down to 3 subjects. And then I went down to 2 subjects, math and science. And then I was told I got to pick one. So I picked my favorite. I picked math.
Wow.
I did teach language arts and social studies for the longest time. And I did have, when I graduated college, a reading endorsement because I love to read.
You love to read, but you're a math teacher. That's similar to Mrs. Paraboom.
Totally. And we used to be wall buddies when I first started at Five Oaks and I taught math. Miss Dizon and I were wall buddies.
Yes.
It always surprises me because as an avid reader and someone who loves to write and language arts, everything about it, I absolutely despise math. So it actually surprises me when those two parts of the brain can actually be as one. Obviously, one of my parts of the brain doesn't work very well.
Well, I love to read, but I am not a writer. Like writing is not my gifting, not my strong suit. And so I much prefer to solve problems in kind of that logical, sequential part of my brain. But I love to lose myself in a good book. I loved to read as a kid. I remember Saturday mornings when it was chore time, I would go in my room to clean my room and I'd sit on my bed and read. And then be really quiet. And sure enough, I'd wait for my mom's footsteps to walk down the hall, quickly shove my book under my bed and pretend I was cleaning my room. And my mom said, "You've been here for an hour." I'm like, "Well, it takes me a long time to clean my room." She knew. I know that she was also a teacher, so I know that she knew.
Okay, that is how you know you're an official reader, when you actually have to hide your reading habit from your parents.
Yes, I love physical fitness, which even though I love to read, I love also to be active and to move my body. And so that's my second passion is being fit and healthy and then inspiring other people to do the same. So about 4 years ago, I took my first kind of training for a fitness class called Pound. It's where you have drumsticks and you beat them together and you move your body. So it's like this cardio workout, but you're hitting these drumsticks really hard together. It's so much fun. I took that class and then I became an instructor, and then I took bar, which is kind of a low impact cardio class, low impact class. And then I just passed my personal trainer exam in January. It was super hard. So I've been telling my students in my class, I'm like, you have to study. When you had come time to a test, I told them like all the strategies I'm giving you on how to study for tests, I'm doing myself right now. So I got an 800-page manual that I had to go through, take notes, highlight things, write note cards, learn the material, and then learn how to apply the material. So I did the whole process on my own. In January.
And you can, some of you don't know this, but I actually met Mrs. Dizon before I started working at Five Oaks because she was a physical trainer where I work out. So she was my trainer before I was her coworker. So, and Mrs. Paraboom has done exercise classes with Mrs. Dizon too.
Yeah.
So,
and my kids have, because Miss Dizon taught some kids pound classes, and my kids still ask me like, "Mom, when can we go back and do pound again?" So we better get on that.
When the virus gets under control, we'll go there again. The Nancy Drew is really popular, the old-fashioned Nancy Drew, where she solves cases without the use of technology. There's no cell phone. She would get stranded on the side of the road and she'd have to walk to the nearest farm, a half mile away, and use IFC, make sure their phone line was still intact and not cut the phone line. She didn't have a cell phone. She didn't have GPS. She had to find out where things were on a map. It's crazy how she even solved any crimes without all these technology, right? So I read the old-fashioned Nancy Drew books, her friends tooling around town in their little sports car. And then I also love like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that whole series I loved. And then I, as I got older, I read Tolkien and all those things. And I actually took a class in college. My favorite class in college was C.S. Lewis and his counterparts. So I took a whole class about him and his counterparts.
That's fascinating. Not to put you on the spot, but is there anything specific that you learned from that class that you think would be fascinating to those who read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I don't know. Now that I won't even talk about if I've been teaching for 20 plus years, you know how long it's been since I was in college taking that class. But I remember just kind of hearing the story about how he wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because it was after the war, and he was writing as kind of an escape for kids from that. And then how Tolkien and him were counterparts, and they wrote lots of similar. Their stories are very similar, in how they wrote them.
Well, and you have 2 young readers at home too. So what kind of books are they reading right now?
Well, my daughter, who is 10, she's a voracious reader. She basically taught herself to read at 4 years old. She's like reading books. I don't even understand how that happened. I didn't teach her. That was, yeah.
My son, same thing.
Yeah, some kids need to learn, and it takes them longer to learn. There's nothing wrong. So if you're one of those kids that like, I didn't read till I was in 2nd grade, then that was your time. Like, every kid has their time to learn to read. My daughter's time happened to be at 4 years old. And so she just always loved books. Currently at 10 years old, she is all about the Warrior series, reads them. She's also maybe takes after me in the fact that she says, Mom, can I borrow your iPad to read on Libby? Because it's easier to do that right now than going to the library checking out books. So she will, same thing. I'm like, it has been an hour, and I asked you to go upstairs and brush your teeth for bed. And where have you been for the last hour? She's reading a book. So she kind of maybe takes after me in that way. But that's her current series that she loves. Prior to that, it was all about Geronimo Stilton in the 3rd grade.
Yep.
Now it's all about the Warrior series. My son, he loves to read too, but he'd much rather go and play basketball or go and play soccer or something active. But he loves Minecraft. He loves to read Minecraft books, especially the graphic novels. Loves them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. We just got all the brand new ones here in the library. Still haven't even been checked out because of COVID.
They've been checked out by me for my 10-year-old.
You're right.
And then I brought them back for you.
You're right. I forgot the book hog got them first.
I did. I totally got those ones first.
So we have all of those things. And Mrs. Dizon just mentioned her daughter was reading on Libby. And Libby is just like Sora for the public library. So if you are already active on Sora, you should be able to get Libby as well if you need that. But don't forget, your Sora account also can hook up to the public library. So when she says Libby, that is the public library version of Sora. So,
yeah.
That is so awesome, Mrs. Dizon. If someone at school wanted a book recommendation, what kind of recommendations do you think you would be good at providing? Do you think it would be fantasy or realistic fiction or historical fiction?
I kind of like it all. Like, I love to read a good fantasy, but some fantasies I love to read, like The Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe, those types of fantasies I like to read. I've read some of the fantasies back when I would teach humanities or language arts, as it called back then, when I used to teach it. So I taught language arts. So a lot of the fantasies. I also learned a lot of realistic fiction. I'm looking at the shelf behind you there, and Carl Hysen, I can never say his last name right. Is that right? Yeah. So his books, I love those books. I would read those out loud all the time. Last year, my class, I read the book, and I'm spacing on the name. Maybe Mrs. Pearmoon can help me. It's about the boy who was a track person. And
Ghost?
Yes, Ghost. So that series, I read the first one, and I love that book. And then I was going to read the rest of them, and then we kind of ran out of time, and we had to shut down the middle of last year. But that was a really good series. I really enjoyed that one.
Hey, Mrs. Pearmoon, how about you? Do you have any recommendations for us today?
All right. Well, since I knew that Miss Dizon was coming today, and I know that she's a personal trainer and has a passion for keeping kids healthy, I have 2 books to talk about today that have kind of an athletic theme, if you will. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called The Running Dream, and Wendelin Van Dranen, I believe, is the author's name. You'll have to double check me on that one. And this is about a girl whose entire life is running. So she is a long distance runner. She runs for her school cross country team. And there is an accident, and she is injured, and she is I want to say that her leg is amputated. It's not a spoiler. It happens at the beginning of the story, but the story is really about her perseverance and getting back to that thing that she's passionate about, which is running. Because now that she's had this leg injury, like she can't run in the same way. And so she has to really figure out who she really is now that her body has changed, but her passion and her heart hasn't changed. So it's really a story about perseverance and sticking to it and finding out who you are. So that's the running dream. And then the other one I just remembered this morning as we were talking, and it's called Holding Up the Universe. And the author is Jennifer Niven. And this book is a little bit more mature, so just be prepared that there might be some mature topics in this one. And this is about a girl who has been dubbed the fattest teenager in America. Her mom passes away at the beginning of the story, and she deals with that grief by eating. She doesn't leave her room. She just eats. Her dad is grieving. Her dad is really sad and depressed, and she just deals with all of the emotions by eating. And she gets to the point where she can't physically stand up. She can't leave her bedroom. The fire department has to come and cut a hole in the wall to get her out of her house. And that was like the turning point for her, that something has to change. And before her mom passed away, she was a dancer. And so she had been physically fit. And then her whole world kind of turned upside down. And she's now getting back into moving her body so that she can be healthy again and go back to school and get back to her real life. In the meantime, there's a boy that attends her same school who has a neurological condition where he can't recognize faces. So he'll wake up in the morning and he will see the people in his household, his brothers, his parents, but he doesn't recognize their faces as people that he knows. And so he has never told anyone. He's been faking it this his whole life, kind of just doing his best to fit in and kind of playing off that he knows who people are until he hears their voices, or they tell him who they are, that kind of thing. And the two kids, Libby and Jack, they interact with each other in not a super positive way. And then they're forced into this situation where they have to talk to each other, and they start to realize that they can help each other kind of grow and change and get through the hard things through this new friendship that is formed. So Holding Up the Universe, a great story about friendship, and the characters are just amazing. And I really, really love both of those stories. Well, a good one.
I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going the nonfiction route today. And mine had to do with Mrs. Dizon being on here today too, because actually, and this is kind of like getting deep here, but the place where Mrs. Dizon works is kind of like a gym, but not like a gym. It's kind of like just a small studio where they have classes. Like Mrs. Dizon said, she teaches pound and bar, and other trainers there teach boot camp. And actually, Mrs. Dizon does a little bit of kickboxing, and also something that's offered there is yoga. And so these kinds of classes, not only do they keep my body healthy, but they kind of change like my personality and make me calm. And I can tell that when I'm not doing these things, I'm not a great person to be around. And so luckily, there are books in our library that can actually help you with some of these things, just like me going to these personal trainers help too. And so the first one I'm going to show you is called You Are Awesome. And so this book is just a good reminder that you are awesome. And sometimes when I'm feeling really down, or maybe I ate a lot of junk food and my whole body is just screaming at me like, ugh, you're lazy, you're gross. I know that's not all the way true. A book like You Are Awesome is something that can remind you that, hey, you are great. You're having a little setback, but remember all these great things you do. And so a book like this is perfect for my reminder. Also, I really have to tell you that exercising and doing yoga and everything has helped with my mind. And a lot of times meditation is helping me as well. Now, I know some of you think meditation, oh, that's so weird. Like all these hippies, like, it's not so much that. And I have learned that you can be meditating even when you're at school and even when you're in class and nobody has to know. So it's kind of cool. And it's been really helping me out, especially during all the chaos of COVID. I've just been kind of having times where I freak out and I realize, oh, wait, you haven't meditated in a while. You haven't just taken time to just be quiet and look at all the things, going around. And so that's helped me a lot too. And then another thing they do at this gym that I go to is they tell me sometimes what to eat and what not to eat. So like if I'm not feeling good or if I say, oh, I'm just stressed out all the time and I'm even meditating, they might say, hey, how much sugar have you been eating? Or, how much coffee have you been drinking? Maybe more than your amount. Well, we have books in the library for that too. And so I'm going to show you, this one's called Eat This. And it kind of tells you about how fast food, right? We all like fast food. Donuts are my favorite thing. I'm like Homer Simpson over here. But how they might not be so great for your body if that's all you're depending on. So if you've been using COVID as an excuse to go to McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, like where else can we go? You might want to hold back a little bit, especially once you find out what's in all those foods and know that it's not real food. And then another one is called Diet for a Climate Change. Ooh, getting kind of deep with this one as well. But knowing what our planet gives us for nutrients, can't talk, nutrients and nutrition and things like that. So a lot of the information that I learn at this gym I go to, you can get right here in the library in the nonfiction section. And Mrs. Parabim and I can always help you out when you need to find something. So hopefully we can find something that will make you feel good. So thank you, Mrs. Paramboo, for those book recommendations. And Mrs. Dizon, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing with the students who you are and the books you like to read. All right, everyone. We will see you next week on another episode of Read with Force. Hybrid is coming up. If you want to check out books, you are more than welcome to do so. I will be outside at lunchtime and you can find me there. CDL kids, just like normal, you can request your books on Destiny Discover on the catalog, and I will get those books to you. Either you can come pick them up in the office, or if that's not possible, you let me know and we'll find a way to get those books to you. All right. Everybody have a good week and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.